it is a whole holistic healing. That is why, like, you have to do the body work, you have to do the inner child work, you have to equip yourself with the fucking tools, because yes, I have healed to a certain level, and yes, then I pulled myself up and understand and have so much gratitude, but that doesn't mean I still don't get fucking triggered.
I think it's great to understand your inner child, but if you can't reparent that inner child the way she needed or he needed in those moments of time that she felt or he felt so neglected or not seen, or that's the kind of reclaiming, isn't it? And it's interesting, like you say, that when you get to that point, because it's like sometimes you aren't going to understand why. Why did I get raped? Why did I get abused? Why did this happen to me? Sometimes there's no human reason that it's going to be great.
No. Our parents are just humans that were doing the best that they can with their conditioning, with their wounding, with their experiences. And what has, I think, the pivotal thing that has made me feel like, you know what, I am good with what has happened in my past was taking it back from a soul level and pull, and I do this over and over, I pull myself up and I look at the situation and taking radical responsibility. And what I'm about to say, I get a lot of slack for with the times that I have said it, but I'm going to say it because it is my truth.
I always had these issues, and from when I was really little, I always felt like there was something, why was all this darkness around me when I don't feel dark? But I was very comfortable in it. So welcome to episode 8 of Spill the SpiritualiTEA. And today I'm lucky enough to have the beautiful Melissa Alves. So we've got double Melissas going on today. So let me tell you a little bit about Melissa first, and then we'll jump into the unknown conversation today. We've left it all to the universe. So Melissa Alves is the founder of the Light Leader Academy, guides conscious leaders into aligning their soul-driven missions with purposeful impact. Through her work, she empowers others to evolve their consciousness, heal, and create impactful businesses that contribute to the collective awakening. Ooh, I love that.
Love it.
I love that. And we were just discussing, we've only met once before, and that was in your collective workspace with all the women. So this is really nice that we get to have a one-on-one conversation, and it's live. Not much pressure, babe.
No pressure at all.
So welcome. I'm really excited to have you here, because I know even through our little chats yesterday how similar we are in the way we probably work and our past is in what we experience, you know, through our, you know, childhood and how we've kind of evolved. And I found it really interesting when he started sharing. I was like, oh my God, she's like me.
And I was, a mutual friend of ours, Harmony, said, you need to go and speak to Mel about this because she talks all about that. I'm like, oh my God, there is someone out there that's experienced this like me. So I was really excited when, you know, we said, okay, what are we going to talk about when we come on here? So.
Well, and the reason why I kind of created the podcast was because I didn't want it to be scripted. I didn't want it to be about what the person does. I think sometimes we can hide behind the knowledge and the knowingness of what we do in our work. You know what I mean? And I think we miss the vulnerability of how we got there and everything that's transpired to access that knowledge and why we do what we do. You know what I mean? Because that's a huge reason I do what I do is through my experience. And I never wanted anyone else to feel the same way I did. And that was a huge driver for me, not wanting someone to feel the way I did or feel unsupported or feel left alone or feel like they didn't have someone by their side that really saw them and went, I get it.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because doing the work that we're doing, going out there and being of service, we often get caught up in wearing that mask or playing that role, and other people look at us as, oh, look at that coach or look at that mentor, and it kind of takes that humanness away. And it's like, no, we are just like you and I, and we don't often get to share the stories. Like, we're going to have a conversation today and go, we're human and we've experienced this, and because of our experiences and our life journey, this is where we are right now. This is why we're doing what we're doing. So I'm so excited to peel the veil back and go deep today with you and just talk about your experience and my experience. And it's going to be a beautiful thing for people to see that.
Because I think they'll get to know you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm people go, oh, you share so vulnerably. I'm like, I'm not attached to all of my experiences. And I think because I've seen myself in all my dark and all my light and all my, and I know where I've been and what I've experienced and why, and when I've been this and when I've been that, and I have acceptance for it. So even though I've experienced some horrible things or navigated some stuff, I don't really feel like it's my story. And so I struggle when people go, what's your story? I'm like, there's so many, because there's so many versions of me that have had these experiences that I don't feel like that person that, was that little girl that was having those, huge, what do you call it, like soul experiences and not being really unprotected as a little girl, with spirits and things that we were talking about yesterday. I just didn't, that was that part of me. And then the little girl that got abandoned and the teenager that got raped twice and all these things that have, and violent relationships, all of these things that have made me up. I don't really feel attached to them. Is that weird?
I love that you're saying that, because I'm exactly the same. And I felt so weird going, I've never felt attached or a victim to what has happened to me.
No.
Ever. Yes, it's in the human form, has played a psychological part in the subconscious, and we're doing all the things, but I have never allowed it to go, oh, poor me. I was sexually abused by 2 uncles for several years since I was 7 years old, and poor me, I can't do this, or this is the reason why of my bad behavior. Never, because every day is a brand new day that you get to choose who you want to be. And I always live by that mantra of you are not, your past does not define you.
Yeah.
Because it's just an experience.
And it's a hard one to get to, I think, when you are attached. And and there's no denying what the experience.
Oh, yeah.
Like how, and so many people that will be listening to this have had sexual abuse as a child.
Yeah.
Or have had some form of, being abused, some sort of abuse, whether it's emotional, physical, sexual, that has really defined, who they were as that little person. And that takes a lot of grit to go back there and really do that inner child work. And, and I know both of us are really big on inner child work. And that really has been the greatest gift to myself, is to learn to hold that little girl.
Yep.
And meet her in those vulnerable places that she felt so alone, unprotected, disconnected to, and sort of kind of felt disapproved of, was something that came through. I was listening to something the other day and I was like, wow, it was something that I've just been going through with, that some stuff just came up recently with my family to do with my mum, and I thought, someone said disapproved. That's how I felt my whole entire life with my family, that I felt disapproved of the way that I was and how I reacted, or how emotional I was, or how sensitive I was, how too much I was, that it was like I was disapproved of. So there was this always not being approved, and I seeked approval. I wanted to feel like I was loved. And then that was a huge thing to unravel.
That is huge. And
that word came to me only a few days ago, and I thought, holy freaking shit. That's this. I haven't really thought of that word as disapproval of being. It was a meditation I was doing, a Steve Noble meditation, and it was a mother wound one. And I only just did this one just recently, and he said disapproval, and when it hit that, how something will hit you, and I was like, holy shit.
It hits you.
I was like, I haven't looked at the disapproval and how that felt to me in my being, constantly feeling like I didn't fit in with my family, or the way they approved of how life should be.
Yep. I get that on so many levels. Like my heritage background on my mother's side, they are Chinese Timorese.
Yeah, wow.
So, and they're very, they are very Chinese cultural. So for me
that's
to
interesting.
finally speak up, because all the memories were suppressed, and then I was in a teenager and all these memories started coming back and I didn't know what was going on, and like, anyway,
So it was
voiced
like
up.
you deleted that part.
100%.
Wow.
And then we'll go into how that was the initiation into awakening all my spiritual senses, because it was an escapism to just not be there when things were happening.
Yeah.
So when I finally remembered all this, and the first big instant was at my grandmother's house while she was at home with a family member was doing this to me. And we were the only 3 people in the house. So when I finally remembered, I told my mum, and my auntie was there, and I'm like, oh my God, Mum, I have something to say. And this had happened. She called my grandmother straight away, and the disapproval of what I was saying was huge. Like, I'm shaming the family. I should shut up because men are held quite high and women are, you need to be quiet. So I got hit with, I'm disappointing the family. I'm bringing shame to the family. I shouldn't open my mouth and don't say anything outside of the 4 walls. So from them, I shut down. I didn't say anything. I was always kind of looked at like,
How old were you in this?
I was in year 8, so I was probably about 13
Such a
years
pivotal
old.
time
Yeah.
for a young girl as well.
Yeah, about 13, 14 when
Yeah.
that happened. So that then flow-on effect of, I'm scared to be shown up, with the work that we're doing as coaches, is showing up that, what I have to say is of importance. So there was
Especially when you've been repressed and you've been shut
huge.
down. And
Yeah.
with something like that, when you want someone, especially your family, your parents and your mother, to lean in and really hold you and protect you in that situation that you felt so unprotected by, and then to be kind of thrown under the thrown under the bus, like it's like, well, what you experienced, if you talk about that, then
Shame.
well, I also do think that there's a real internal thing for whoever has allowed this to happen. There's this, it couldn't have happened because I was there, and so if I was there, then that means I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
It's like they take it personally instead of actually having the empathy going, holy shit, how did I miss that? You know what I mean? Like, it goes one way or the other, I think, when you bring up abuse or something that the family disapproves of.
Yeah.
Their reaction is going to be probably one or the other.
Yeah.
Like guilt and overcompensation or rejection.
Yeah. But one thing that I see so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that it's happened this way, is because after I had kids and all the things came up, I had to be the mother for myself. That's going to quite, but I had to be that mother for myself and heal myself through that and go, I'm not dependent on anyone but myself internally to find myself and become whole and just nurture that little girl inside of me. And I think
that is that reparenting part of the inner child work. And I think it's great to understand your inner child, but if you can't reparent that inner child the way she needed or he needed in those moments of time that she felt or he felt so neglected or not seen, or that's the kind of reclaiming, isn't it? Of
it is.
All these broken aspects of you that I feel really do keep you in that loop.
Yeah.
Because it's wired into your nervous system. It's so deeply protected. Like you said, I didn't even remember it.
Yep.
And I mean, how many people that I've coached that don't remember sexual abuse or abuse?
Yep.
It's like they disassociate from it.
Yeah.
Completely.
100%. Because I remember the times that, and now a lot of my memories, and I've done the work to go back and open up and accept that I had just disassociated and take myself into another place. I had to. And it's great now because when I go on, I go into the theme parks and I go on roller coasters, which is very rarely, but the times that I do, I'm like, I'm shitting myself. I'm just going to close my eyes, take myself to a happy place, and I'm not here. My body is experiencing, but I'm not, and it's great. And the ride's over. I'm like, oh, it's done. Okay, great.
Like, I'm so brave.
So I picked up an amazing skill.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, that amazing skill can also be such when you need to do the work because you're so wired to disassociate. It's like you sitting next to your body, and I find this so much doing breath work and working with people so intimately with trauma and inner child work that they have survived by disassociating. But then when they go to change these deep patterns that are wired and these beliefs, and really get to follow that cord back, like you said, to reparent that part of themselves that is really disconnected and still experiencing this moment in time that is constantly reacting through you when these parts are triggered. But then you go back into this disassociation. So it's like you leave your body. It's like you're abandoning yourself over and over again every time it hits that wound or that part of yourself. And that has been, I think, the greatest work that I've ever done, is really reclaiming myself and going back in. And I think the death of my mum, even though I'd done so much of that work, holding her through her death, and then when she died, going into the depths of my, like, I was so fucking angry. Like I think with grief too, I think so many people think grief is like, you can't be angry at the person that died. I was fucking fuming. I was angry and I was hurt, and there was so many things that I felt abandoned by my mum on so many levels as a little girl, especially as a little girl. And spiritually being so open without protection. She didn't have the awareness. And there's forgiveness in it. But I have to own my little girl's anger and fear and disappointment that the person that was supposed to be there to hold her didn't know how to do that.
And I absolutely love that you say that, because our parents are just humans that were doing the best that they can with their conditioning, with their wounding, with their experiences. And what has, I think, the pivotal thing that has made me feel like, you know what, I am good with what has happened in my past, was taking it back from a soul level and pull, and I do this over and over, I pull myself up and I look at the situation and taking radical responsibility. And what I'm about to say, I get a lot of slack for with the times that I have said it, but I'm going to say it because it is my truth. Pull myself out and take full responsibility for what happened when I was a little girl.
100%.
Right? Because
I totally
my
agree.
soul contracted and chose to have those experiences for whatever I need in this lifetime. And those two family members contracted to play the perpetrator, right? So I do find gratefulness now to them for having to play a disgusting role. And I have peace with that. You know, so when
you can sit in that dark shadow of it,
and
really see that, like you said, working through that disgustingness and how it made you feel, and what it, you know, the access of probably the shame and everything that made you feel as a young girl. That experience, as freaking terrible, and you wouldn't want to wish it on anyone, has also empowered you to be the woman that you are now. And it's a real duality of like humanness, soul. It's like, and there's no bypassing the depth of experience and the feeling that you have when you zoom out. It's not like I'm zooming out to leave. I'm looking at it from a bigger perspective, so then I can come back in and hold that with a higher awareness that this is perfect, even though it sucks and it's horrible what I've experienced. There is a higher reason for it. There is a gift in it. And if I don't uncover the gift, I stay in the suffering of it. I stay in the energy of it. And then I'm giving the power to those two men from where their consciousness was. I'm stuck there too. I'm literally, you know, stuck in a moment of time, still experiencing this every time something that comes into my energy feels the same way.
100%. And it is a whole holistic healing. That is why, like, you have to do the body work, you have to do the inner child work, you have to equip yourself with the fucking tools, because yes, I have healed to a certain level, and yes, then I pulled myself up and understand and have so much gratitude, but that doesn't mean I still don't get fucking triggered.
No, doesn't mean you're sitting in gratitude every day going,
I don't.
This is all love and light.
And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, when I think about it or something happens, I feel that sadness, I feel that pain, I feel that hurt. But then I have the tools to kind of work through that, because there's so many different layers and work through that. But while I'm working through the hurt and the pain, when I get re-triggered, holding that higher perspective and allowing myself to feel the pain and work through it.
It's like I'm loving you,
but I can hate you at the same time.
but I'm also loving and holding a space for you as you're moving through this pain, and then as your kind of human self gets used to kind of letting the wave of emotion move through and not suppressing it, not getting to a place that it goes, okay, no, I can't go any further.
Yep.
You know, it's really letting yourself surrender into that and go, that's big. That pain is big. Those tears are big. My anger is big. And I need to let it wave through me.
Yep.
But I think having that higher knowingness of like, it doesn't define me.
No.
There's a reason for it. And if I can hold on to that soul perspective, then me moving through this so I don't stay here is also in my evolution.
Yep.
So I don't want to stay here. I've always been, I don't want to stay here. I want to know why. I want to know
Yes.
who. I want to know how. I question everything.
Yep.
You know, that's been an innate part of who I am. Question everything.
Everything.
Ins, outs, why, who, how come, what am I feeling? And I think that's why I love observing people. But I also love watching how I feel around it.
Yeah.
You know, because I doubted my intuitive nature and my feelings because they were so distorted by wounding for a long time. But then that will still pull me always.
Yep.
Even though I would get sort of maybe caught up in, you know, some reactions and over big emotions and feel like I can't do this, you know, then all of a sudden, like I was just speaking to Beck before in episode 7, it was like something just comes in and you're like, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were talking about this, like this, it's a little bit dark and angry. It's like, fuck, I can do this.
Yes.
I'm not staying here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let that define me.
Yep. And you do get those moments, right? The moments when you just feel so like you're rock bottom, you can't do it anymore. And you have to get into that, oh my God, I can't do this no more. And I feel when you get to that point, that is when the surrender, I don't know what else, because our logical mind, our human mind is trying to find solutions.
It's trying to fix it.
Fix it, understand why, what can I do? And when you get to that, like, I can't do anything and I feel so helplessness, that's when the magic happens, because that's when the surrender and the let go.
Yeah.
And when that surrender and let go happens, wow, your power comes through, right? There's no more blockaging for your innate power to come through and go, that's it, let's go. I've had enough.
And it's interesting, like you say that when you get to that point, because it's like sometimes you aren't going to understand why.
Yep.
Why did I get raped? Why did I get abused? Why did this happen to me? Sometimes there's no human reason that it's going to be great.
No. No.
And so I think in that loving awareness that there is a reason for it, for your higher purpose, that inspires me more than to stay in the darkness of what, of the situation that occurred.
Yeah.
And I have no problem walking in the dark. I'm a bit of a shadow hunter. That's my thing.
I love it.
I have felt like very out of place because I can walk in the dark very easily. I don't have a problem with heavy feelings, deep dark emotions, really icky things. It's like, to me, it's something I experienced a lot of my life. And I know we were talking about this yesterday, being a little girl. You know, at night time, I used to get attacked all the time by really heavy things. And when Mum was going through such a lot of stuff with my dad and the birth of my sister, about 3, I used to have it all the time. They'd pin me down. And I've had more memories now as I've got more aware of things that can occur in, you know, different realms, and being so light and innocent and open, unprotected.
Yes.
You know, in that 0 to 6, we're in our mother's energy. So important for protection, especially psychically, spiritually, psychically. And I think the awareness back in my era, and probably maybe with your parents as well, a lot of parents didn't have the ability to understand that.
No.
And you know what I recognize now, you know, I used to come to I was a really weird kid. I was probably about 11. It's interesting because a lot of this, and I'm watching it with my 12-year-old son, something changes around 12, 13 that it shuts down. I don't know if it's because you start looking outside yourself at that puberty stage, but 11, I remember we'd moved to this place, and I was a weird kid anyway. I used to hang out with the neighbours, and they were old. Yeah. I used to do crafts, and I didn't have a lot of friends. And then I used to listen to this guy called Graham Mabry. And he used to have a nightline. I don't know why my mum used to let me listen to it. So he would have this talk show at night that I would listen to when I'd go to bed. And he would talk people out of committing suicide. And all through their dark experiences, what was going on. And I used to listen to that when I'd go to sleep at nighttime. It was, well, now I look back and I think that was weird.
Yeah.
But I used to just think it was fascinating how he would talk these people in. It was really real to me because I think I really resonated with the pain that they were going through.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I always have, this deep empathy for, like, I know that pain.
Yes.
Whether it's just my pain this lifetime or I brought it through, it's like this deep resonance to how much it hurts being human and feeling so much.
Yep.
And I know that feeling of just wanting to give up. And that was at 11. And that also opened up a lot of doors, and I would see beings at my door, really dark entities trying to get into my room at nighttime. And it would freak me out like nothing else. Yeah. And I couldn't sleep by myself. I was going through must have been a real psychic stage or something, that I was starting to really shut down. So I amped up. I don't know. I'm not really sure what was occurring, or my hormones could have come online. So it opened something up. But I used to bang on my mum's door, and I don't know why, but she just felt that she didn't want me to be codependent. She wouldn't let me in. So I would get to this day, my dad was away and my mum, and I'd be knocking, and I would be there for 2 hours, literally crying and hysterical, because the experience I knew I would have to go back to in my room.
Yeah.
And my mum just wouldn't open the door. And I look at it now as a mother and go, what the fuck were you doing?
Yeah.
And I think in her mind, she just didn't want me to get needy. It was just that old school, suck it up. She didn't know what to do with my big emotions. Yeah. And it was easier to kind of shut me down than giving me the love that I needed in that time, because I think she thought then I would need more.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not really sure what was going through her mind, because I couldn't imagine my son at the door screaming for 2 hours till he was desperately exhausted, that I would wheel my mattress into my sister's room and go, oh, I thought you might be a bit scared, so I'm going to come and sleep in here. And my sister was like, yeah, whatever. My sister didn't even cry at ET. So I was like, she was like, totally different to who I was. But that experience and the fear that used to run through my body every night until it stopped.
Yeah.
It started again in different ways, but I remember feeling so abandoned in those moments, going, why? And I have kids now, and I watch them see things at night time, and I watch them experience all these things, and my door is open. You're in my bed.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be near my energy if I can hold that space for you, or I can calm you down.
Yeah.
And I still have weird stuff happen at nighttime all the time.
Yeah.
But I just don't get as fearful of it. I've worked through that fear of nighttime.
Yep.
I couldn't sleep by myself till I was 14, and then I gave up, I think.
Yeah, I was completely the same. When you're younger, these abilities just open up, and I think mine was like the sexual abuse was that initiation into opening up spiritually. And like you, I don't think I had negative entities, but I did have a lot of spirits come and communicate with me. Yeah. They love to come at nighttime, when you're vulnerable, when you're open, and especially when you're watching shows like, suicide and those thoughts.
Let's listen
at
to the
nighttime.
At nighttime before I go to bed.
Yeah, it opens you up, and they're like, oh, she's up, she's open, she's awake. Let's go to her.
Let's go in.
Let's go in. So I remember so many spirits just coming in, and I have so many stories of like laying there when I'm sleeping, and in one house that I was living at, a 19-year-old boy, we found out had a overdose in the house that we're living in. Oh, wow. And he at nighttime would come and visit every night, and he would say to me, look up, look up, look up. So every night before I go to sleep, I had to look up to a certain spot and then close my eyes, and I'll sleep with the blanket over my face with a little hole to breathe, because like you, I was so scared to sleep by myself.
You don't know what it is.
Like I knew it was that man there, some young boy talking to me. And one time I was so scared, because like you can feel the energy. You're scared because you're so young, you don't understand that there is a spirit there, or why am I feeling this kind of feeling? And I was so scared, and like shake the beds, and I've had crazy things happen, but like you, I couldn't sleep on my own. I'll call to my little brother, hey, can you come and sleep with me?
You're so like
can
me.
you come and you come and have a shower with me? Just stand there and I'm just going to have a shower. Can you go to the toilet? I'm too scared to go to the toilet, and I'm so grateful that my family, Asian, my mum's side, I grew up with her and they're very spiritually open.
Yeah.
So they're just
it
like,
wasn't weird
no, it wasn't weird, but it was like, oh yeah, you just, let us know when family members die and they tell us something. And I'm like, what do you mean? But there was no nurturing. There was no,
it's just like,
okay.
figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. It's fine.
It's going to happen. Don't worry about it.
It's like, but now my son, he's very spiritually opened and he actually sees spirits and they come and communicate with him. So when he says, Mummy, I can feel someone here, I'm like, it's okay. And start giving him the tools to regulate his energy because you're feeling an energy coming in and then your nervous system freaks the fuck out. And then it puts you in that fight or flight mode. So like you growing up, it adds with all the trauma that we've been through and to have entities come on top of that, it puts, feeds more layers of damage, so to speak.
Well, it
to our nervous
does, and
system.
I think something that knowing now as I got older, I used to have a lot of thyroid. I used to have an overactive thyroid, and it wasn't until after I had the boys that I was working with Belinda Davidson. She's a medical medium, and I mentored with her for a year.
Yep.
So we worked with the White Light Angels. We started channeling. We would learn how to have earthbound spirits. We used to help them pass over.
Yep.
We used to be able to read. She taught us so much.
Yep.
And that was the only group she ever did. And when we were doing this work and with her help, we were sitting there sort of working on anything that was sort of attached to us because obviously a lot of people that work in the light have a very open, space for everything when they don't know how, to just, host as well. And I think that can change the trajectory of a lot of things. And when we started working, and I always had these issues, and from when I was really little, I always felt like there was something. Why was all this darkness around me when I don't feel dark? But I was very comfortable in it. It was like there was something pulling me in different directions sometimes, but then I was never really afraid of it. But I kind of was like, well, why am I here? I remember even as I got older, I was like, why am I here? Because I've had some pretty dark boyfriends too, like violent boyfriends in my younger years. And I used to think, why am I in this? Like I could get killed right now. Like it was just a really weird understanding of them. But then there was this sort of, I don't know what it was, like a calling that I just didn't move either. I was probably wired also, like in the belief systems and inner child stuff. But there was something bigger than that.
Yep.
It was like I was meant to walk in the dark and really understand it and still be light. Because I used to think, why am I here? This is such a weird thing. And it was like, I don't know, it's a really weird conversation to be actually even sharing because it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
But I remember working with Belinda and I was with my husband at the time. The kids were only very little. And we were doing this work that we were bringing our vibration up to move anything that was in it. And I literally had this entity that was hosting off my body, was wrapped around my neck and literally feeding off my energy.
Yep.
And I'm like, that is what I've been feeling. That is what has been drawing me in because it's been hosting through a wound or through open holes in my aura that it's got in when I was very little unprotected. And then as I've got lighter and lighter, it was getting harder and harder. And I could feel this, and it literally it felt like it shut down my throat. There was a disconnect in the knowingness of who I was. And when she helped me move it, and I literally felt it leave my body, this energy, my whole life changed.
Yep.
I was like, holy shit, I get it. It was like this darkness had kind of lifted. And then I did. Not long after that, I ended up leaving my husband, everything. I was like, I can't stay here anymore. There was no need to stay doing what I was doing once that had shifted. And then I could hold this energy without feeling constantly pulled down.
Yep.
And then I had to work at obviously closing those wounds that opened in the first place.
For them to come in.
It was a really interesting. So it was a very interesting experience, but it also made me in reflection go, now I know why the darkness has been so normal to me.
Yep. because it was on you for so long.
Yeah,
It's like
attracting the experiences in all the time for me.
And then once you clear all that out, like I've gone through, I had a spiritual healer now for the last 15 years. And the first time I went to her to just do a clearing, there was a lot of dark, weird, demonic entity things and spirits and all the things attached on different parts of your body, even from lifetimes ago that have come into this lifetime that, have attached. Once she cleared it off, I think it took about 2.5 hours to clear everything in. She's like, I've never worked on anyone that's had this much, because in previous lifetime, I've been healer and a healer and healer. So when you're healing people and you don't do the protection properly, a lot of stuff you're carrying over. So in this lifetime, I had all this stuff. And when she cleared it off, I felt like I couldn't walk. I was so light and went,
it's a weird feeling.
It is a weird feeling. Like,
your eyes get open.
Like, oh my God. But it goes back to like when you are energetically cleaned, you know your frequency and you know your vibration. So when anything attaches on, or you're feeling a bout of anxiety or some bullshit thoughts that are going in your head, you automatically oh, this is not mine. Where is this coming from? And I go back and think, who have I been surrounding myself with? Who did I just meet? Who did I just have a conversation with? Because you're picking up energetically, or they're hooking into you and you're feeling their emotions and their feelings and going, okay, this is not mine. Let's clear that out.
Everybody else. Yeah. So that was a huge thing, because as soon as I'd sit next to someone,
bam, you feel it.
I could feel everything that was going on in their body, and I would go, oh, are you feeling this, this, and this? And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I can literally sit in other people. But I've learned not to sit. That was a big training with Belinda, not to sit in someone else's body.
Yep.
I can do it.
Yep.
If I need to, I can sit, but I also know how to do that.
Yeah.
Differently now, whereas I can still attune to it. I don't have to go in there.
Yeah.
And then that means me a lot of the time, I started taking on everybody else's stuff. And that was creating sickness in myself.
Yep.
Being so sensitive and open, taking on other people's energy and thinking, oh, I don't want you to feel like that. I'll take it on.
Take it off you.
I'll take it off you.
Yeah.
And I always see that little meme of that little person walking along and they cuddle someone, and then that goes a little darker and then a little darker. And that's kind of what it's like if you don't know how to shift that and move that through the body and balance your chakra, like your energy systems. And that's one thing Belinda taught us how to do, was to work with our energy centers, our chakras, and to balance those. And in balancing those, and then to be able to channel that white light back through, it was like always kind of clearing your system out. So that was a massive thing for me that I just didn't know. Plus, I was so detached from myself, and so that gave me a sense of okayness in my body.
Yep. Safetiness, right? Safetiness. And I had this conversation with a girlfriend yesterday. We spoke about, you can do all the things. You can see psychologists, do your inner child work. You can, eat healthy. You can do all the things, right? But if you're not looking after your energetic body, if you're not clearing yourself, then everything's going to fall to the ground, right? And this is why I always go back to that whole holistic approach with any healing that you're doing. It has to be holistic, because you cannot get to the end game if you're not doing one thing, if one thing's dropped.
But I think it does take, firstly, the awareness. Maybe it starts with health, or maybe it starts with inner child healing, because what that does, it keeps opening the next
door.
And like you said, the abuse opened the door for you, and the bad experience opened the light experience, or the awareness to be able to have that. But when you're stuck in the shit, it feels like, I suppose, you're just stuck underneath the shit.
Stuck, and you just have to focus on that one thing. Like my whole thing is, what is my A to B? What is my A to B? What is the one thing that I can do? And with habits, it's always habit stacking, right? Let's change one thing. Let's change cutting out sugar. Let's change doing a breath work, and then stacking it on and stacking it on.
Because the more you crowd out, we learned that because I did holistic health coaching. And so when you crowd out, they call it, it's like not depriving yourself or not doing all the things and feeling restricted, because we talked about being restricted. That just does not work for me. If I feel like I can't have something, then I want it more. And I think that's probably psychologically, everyone feels the same way. But it's like when you add things in, slowly, there's no room for the other stuff. It's not like you have to change everything. So you're not telling you're doing anything wrong. It's just as you add these things in, then other things fall to the side. And also too, as you start to feel better, you tend to lean into those things.
Yeah.
But it's not out of doing it because I've got to do this,
No.
this, and this. Because we can go from bad habits
Yep.
to good habits,
Yep.
but they become crutches
Yep.
or codependent.
Yes. And that is what I'm seeing at the moment in this whole big spiritual awakening and spiritual movement, is just that codependency on the tools.
Oh my God.
On the things.
Well, I do
and
breathwork, so I
and it's
get it.
bypassing.
Yeah,
Right. And
100%.
even with breathwork, sometimes I'm like,
100%.
I don't want to feel that. I'm just going to breathe and put that at the back. God, I
'Cause
feel
you
great
can.
now. Oh, I've worked on it. It's like, no, you've just tucked it away, did a bit of breath work.
You
and now
breathe over
think,
the top of
yes.
it. And that's a really big thing I teach in
Yeah.
breathwork. Don't breathe over the top of it when the emotion comes in. Let the wave move through you and then work with your breath as you
Yeah.
come back in the body. Just
I love
stay
that.
with the body and keep working with the
Yeah.
waves of the emotion. Don't breathe over the top of
Yeah.
it because you are bypassing. 100%.
Yeah, I see that so much. I just go to a retreat. I'm just going to do an ice bath. I'm going to go do a breath work, and I do this and I do that. And it's taking, these are powerful tools, but it's taking away of, sometimes you've got to sit there and you've got to feel that shit.
Be fucking uncomfortable.
And be unfucking comfortable and cry and sit on the lounge with the blanket on your face and not want to see anyone for fucking 2 days. That's what you've got to do. And I call that my magical cave.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling shit, I'm going in there and I'm feeling shit. I am feeling the depths, the dark and everything. Then I slowly come back out and pull on the tools to then, help me
embody it.
back out of the hole, because you've got to allow that emotion to finish its cycle. You've got to allow it.
And we're so learned to cut it off.
Yes.
When it gets uncomfortable or
Yes.
it gets to a resistant point that you go, well, I think we're wired that way. It's like,
Yeah.
yep, okay, that's enough.
Okay, we're done.
We're done.
Yep.
I feel so much better. And
Yeah.
you probably feel better in the moment, but because you've repressed some of it,
Yeah.
it's going to come around.
It will.
And that's the gift, in to be able to let it go, like into the depths
Yeah.
and not fear, because there's that higher version of going, it's okay. You're okay to go to the depths. You're not spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
There's a knowingness that there's a reason you need to go to the depth, to let the full wave of emotion through.
Yeah.
And if we were taught that when we were younger, it would be so much easier to navigate shit. And that's why I love watching my boys move through the wave.
Yeah.
I don't stop the wave.
Yep.
I let it move through.
Yep.
But I've even noticed them, like they'll want to go and pick up their phone, or they'll want to go, now they're getting a little bit older because they're teenagers, they'll want to distract themselves when it gets to those little bits. Whereas when they were younger, they didn't have anything to distract them.
Yeah.
And they would have that full experience. So I just said, don't pick up your phone. Come back in. Let's talk about what's going on, or, have some time, go outside, get into your body, especially for boys, and let that move all the way through you. Don't minimize it.
Yeah. And I love that. I absolutely love that we're giving the tools to our children to be able to do that. And this is what evolution is all about, right? Why do we learn to have emotional intelligence and not pass it on?
Yeah.
Right. We're here to break cycles. We're here to pass that on. And I love that. I get my kids to scream in pillows, punch it out, swear, do whatever they do. And I'm like, how do you feel now? They're like, better. And then they're ready to talk, and they can make sense of it, and they can see, what part they played and what is happening around them.
Yeah. It's huge to be able to allow them to be self-responsible for their part.
Yeah, 100%.
But also for you to be self-responsible for your part. And I think when you can teach that, and that you're not just saying, well, you should do there's an opening that you're safe to share your vulnerabilities, to take self-responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
No.
And you can react sometimes, and it's not the greatest expression in the sense of how you've handled it. But it's okay to come back in and go, I realized I felt like this. Instead of just saying sorry, reflect on why you did the action in the first place, because sorry becomes nothing if you're not reflecting on the action that keeps reoccurring over and over again, because you're not going in and going, why am I actually doing this?
Yeah.
And if I keep apologizing, at some stage, sorry means nothing.
Nothing. So I do with my kids. I'm like, I'm sorry. This is why Mummy felt that way,
100%.
and this is why I shouldn't have done that. No, Mummy, it's okay. And I said, no, it's not okay. I've noticed that I'm starting to XYZ, and I'm making a promise now that I'm going to change it. And then we have a conversation and said, okay, what about you? What are you noticing that you've been? And they you know, have that awareness, say, this is what I'm going to do to change.
Love that
So
so
yeah,
much.
it's great.
But it's that self-reflection, I think, that we didn't have.
No. Oh, no, God, no.
And I think that's such a powerful thing when there's no shame in it. Everything's welcome.
Yep.
And when you can explore why, then you get such a deeper understanding of it.
Yeah.
And especially the emotionality of it, because like you know and I know, if you don't have a safe place to be fully yourself, all the weird parts of it too that are involved, then you have to disassociate to become something that's more approved of. You know, now that this is my new recognition of this disapproval.
Yep.
And I realized that I felt contained.
Oh.
You know, that containment and freedom is a really big expression for me in relationships. It's a big part of who I am. I like close and I like deep, but I don't want to feel attached to, you know, and that's why I've attracted avoidant partners. But it's not the avoidance that I want when I'm, you know, having to keep, but that I do know that pattern from my dad. But it's like, I do need that sense of autonomy. I need space. I need freedom. But I'm happy for you to be there.
Yeah.
Just don't need me all the time. It's a real dichotomy for someone that's such a touchy-feely person. But it's an energetic need, I think.
It is.
It's a different feeling for me.
And I love that you're saying that, because it was only a few days ago I was talking to my friend and saying one of my biggest core values is love and connection. I love being around people and connecting, like deep conversations and just having a good fucking time and eating great food. But then on the flip side, I need my space.
Yeah.
I love that quietness, and it's only been the last 12 months that I have been really putting a strong boundary to not be everywhere and be everything for everyone because of that love and connection. Because like you said, it's an energetic thing and it sucks my energy, because like, oh, I need you and you're shining so bright and I can,
and
you
you
know,
can help me.
you can help me. And I'm like, yes, because I can connect with you and I love you. And I'm like, just fucking myself over.
I can see you.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we don't get a lot. And I think that's the greatest gift for me, that I do see you.
Yeah.
I do see when I work with you. I know what it feels like. And I don't hide that. And everything's welcome. And it's a very weird feeling for people that haven't had that.
Yeah.
It's either going to make you run and project because it's uncomfortable.
Oh, I've had those people do that, like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's a lot, you know, because it's uncomfortable to be seen, especially when you haven't seen yourself.
Yep.
I'm not scared to be seen.
Yep.
You know, there's been layers of that, of coming out, but that I think has been wounded stuff, as in, you know, sisterhood wound, witch wound, all those type of things, more than me being seen.
Yeah.
There's been quite a comfortability in like being seen. And that's confronting, I think, for someone to reciprocate that openness.
Yeah.
If they can't match it in themselves.
Yeah.
It's just something that I've always wanted. And I think, doesn't everyone want to be fully received?
I think that's one of the greatest human needs, right? Is to be seen, heard, and loved. Seen, heard, and loved.
Yeah. It's kind of simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's so complicated.
Really.
Because there's so much in our humanness that, you know, love will always show you what isn't love. And I've said this a lot in this podcast, meaning love will always shine light on the things that aren't lovable, or you feel that are accepted, approved of, you know, okay. It doesn't mean it's light.
No.
It's just the parts of you that have been unloved. It will show you that when you're loved.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's something that I have come to this deep self-acceptance of, like, things are changing all the time. I have no control over it. But I can have deep love and acceptance for it.
Yeah.
And no, that's not saying I don't have all the thoughts come in when, you know, when I'm like, well, this is not how I thought perfect was, not how I thought my life was going to be. But there's something that when all that starts, I'm going, I'm just in reaction because I'm feeling so-and-so and so. I know when all the stories come up, or I'm like, oh, my stomach's really bloated, or this is really shit, or that looks crap, or this isn't working, and, you know, I get into those modes. I'll just say to the boys, I'm just having a really bad day. Mum's just really reactive.
Yeah.
I just know that I put too much on my plate, or I'm hormonal, and I really dive into what they're feeling. I said, don't take it personally.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I just don't take it personally.
Yep.
I'm just having one of those days.
Yep.
But as soon as I acknowledge it, it kind of goes.
Oh, it's so powerful when you acknowledge it, hey?
Yeah,
and because it
feel
just
fucking
wants to
good
be
now.
seen. Like that part of Mel just wants to be seen and acknowledged, even
That she's
even if it's by
overwhelmed
you.
and she's done too much, or she's taken too many things, or
Yep.
I've got too many things for one
Yeah.
person to cope with right
Yeah.
now, or I'm feeling a lot of things.
Yep.
When I can just be really honest with myself, it's the same as someone else seeing me.
Yep.
And the boys are like, yeah, whatever. They're so used to it. And that's okay for them too.
Yeah. And, I love how when you're talking about going back and talking about people are wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard and to be able to hold that space. I truly believe that people like you and I that have gone through very big traumatic events in our lives and really seen the darkness in its eyes had to go through that to be able to hold so much pain and and compassion for people, because I truly believe if I didn't go through all that, I would not be able to help people through their pain. I could not sit there and listen to those stories and be okay.
Because it's not experienced.
Because it's not experienced.
And how do you really meet someone if you haven't met yourself in those dark places, or the depth of yourself?
Yeah.
To really go, I get it. Mm-hmm. And I know how hard it is. But if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And if I'm here, you can. Because I don't have a magic key.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that, I've opened up within myself, but that's all within you too.
Yes.
It will look different. It will feel different, but it's all in there.
Yeah.
If you, like you said, if you defined yourself on everything you experienced and the hell that you've gone through, then you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
No.
And I think we're missing out on so many people because they are stuck in those places.
Yeah.
And they are minimizing their pain, trying to do all the things, and they're not giving themselves enough space to honor what they've experienced, but also zoom out and go, it's okay. There's a big reason for this.
Yep.
We need you for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't just get caught up in this.
Yeah.
Take the space, like you said, put the dinner over your head, hide for a few days, be honest with it, witness it. And, I find when I witness it, I don't need to hide as much in my bed anymore.
Yeah.
There's this, I'll have a moment, I'll have a cry, or I'll have a frustrated moment, or I'll, I know the things that are going to help me at different times, even on my, I was in the shed the other day, and I was so angry, and I was bouncing on my rebounder, and I was talking to the someone would have walked in, they would have thought I was a nut job, but I was like, there's so much rage moving through me through this one situation I was going through, and I was bouncing on my bouncer, and I was literally yelling in a way at the wall, and I was like, and it felt so good. Because I didn't project it onto anyone else, but God, I fucking felt it.
Yeah, I love it.
I would have looked like a nut job, but I was like, when I was doing it, it just kind of released this fuck you feeling, and I'm so angry, and there's so much moving through that I'm sick of being betrayed. But then I could take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
I don't expect anyone else to take responsibility that I felt betrayed and thrown under the bus in that moment. And I knew that even having the conversation, it wouldn't be understood anyway.
Yep.
So I just felt it through and told my shed wall to fuck off and really got into my body because I was jumping at the same time and doing all that. And then I felt good.
Yes. I love that. And it just reminded me, I think 2 weeks ago, I was so angry. I don't know for what reason. I just a lot of, all the shit, all the shit. And I was just mopping and I felt so angry. I got my mop and I was fucking smashing it. And my kids were there like, what is wrong with this woman? They haven't seen me explode like that. I was fucking smashing it. So now I've got a mop that is bent and broken, but it still works. And I felt good after that because, like you said, it's in your body. You just raged it out and moved it out and swore it out, and it felt so
suppress
good.
It or
no.
And I think there's a lot. I think it's a collective thing because I've noticed it really feel solid when I, in and out of, the collective feeling of how frustrated everyone is and how trapped everyone feels in this financial and they're in, it's a lot of stress for everyone at the moment. There's a lot of chaos. So, part of that is bringing up anything that's in there that was mine as well. But like you said, your kids are probably looking at you going, what the hell is she doing?
Yeah.
But how good for them to go, oh, so it's okay if I do that. On the other side of it, I'm going to feel good so I can express it. I don't have to hide it.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously you're going to go, probably not the greatest thing to do with the thing. But at the time, that was and you didn't project it onto the kids. You didn't make it about them. You didn't project it onto your husband. You know what I mean? There's so much in that when we can take self-responsibility for it, because then it doesn't get dumped onto everybody else.
It doesn't. And because in the past, years ago, I would, when the kids were little, I would project it to them.
Yeah.
I would yell and scream at them and yell and scream at my husband, and our relationship fell apart and we separated there for a little while, and I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Right? That was probably like 9 years ago, until I went, okay, this is not okay. Like, I'm not okay. The lid of the jar where all my little feelings were just went shunk. And went, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
So, it's so amazing that you pointed that out, just to reflect on how far I've come, like huge leaps and bounds. Yeah, like leaps and bounds that my kids would never see me like that, don't have to experience that again.
And you don't have to feel shameful for it, because you're not projecting it on them anymore. So the shame comes from projecting it on someone else.
Yes.
And not taking self-responsibility.
Yeah.
But when you know that you've taken self-responsibility, not the greatest, but they don't... The energy is very different when it's being projected, and there's projection and blame to whether you're just having a moment. Yeah. And then it's like, and I've been talking to a lot of my clients, because my dad would get so angry with the computer. My dad and I are very similar. I've got a bit, like I can be, there's a real fast temper, but it takes me a really long time to get there. Yeah. It's not like it just happens, but when it does,
it blows.
It's like, Jesus. But it's like the tech. And my dad and I have the same thing. But I recognize that anger's not good to that reactiveness, because there's something deeper underneath it. Yeah. And I've learned it from my dad. Yeah. So when I'm having that experience, if I'm in front of the computer, it's not working how I want it to, I go, doing a Graham, doing a gra. So I talk to that behavior because I've learned it from Dad. And I see him do it, then I'm like, so I give it a name.
I love that.
And it kind of takes it away that I'm like, and I can laugh at it a little bit and go, yeah, right, I'm frustrated. Like, I don't have to go crazy and get myself in such a profound, chaotic state that then it does transpire and project to everywhere else, because then it continues. I don't take self-responsibility for it, but by separating from it and having a little bit of a laugh at myself and going, okay, I'm doing a Graham. It's good. Take a breath, walk away from the computer. You know what I mean? Yeah. It lets it move. And then I'm not repeating what I've always seen, and I find that's less than now. It doesn't happen to me very rarely now. Whereas before it was just so normal to do it because that's what I'd seen. But then his behavior after it affected everybody else. Yeah. It wasn't like he cleared the anger. Yep. It was just a feeling, and that was in the house because he was so frustrated. Whereas now it's like I can recognize it, and it's not everyone else's to take on. Yeah. I move through it.
I love
it. So interesting. But so that's a really cool tool to recognize learnt behaviors when you start, like you said, you will reflect things, especially as a parent, that you learnt from your parents. Yep. And you go, oh, shit, sound like my mom. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I remember my mom saying that. And if I always go, okay, I'm doing a Rhonda, I'm doing a Grant, if I can separate from it and recognize I learnt that.
It was a learnt behavior. That's not me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what am I feeling?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
funny though.
And my kids after that had a big laugh, like after I breathed, and they're just laughing at me. And then I had a big laugh, and it was just like a funny thing, like, oh, Mum blew up, and then hubby came home. Do you know what happened to Mum today? Do you know what happened to the mop? Do you want it? And they bring it out. Look what she did to the mop, and they're having a big old laugh because they knew that it was just a moment.
And it's okay.
And it's okay, and it's funny afterwards.
Yeah. And I think you have to be able to laugh through this journey.
You have to. Because you know what? We're here to experience fucking life. Like, we're here to have a good time. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've really journeyed through over the last month is just realizing, yes, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm here to help women, and I'm here to be a mum, but fuck, I'm here to live. Like, I'm here to live. Don't get so serious. Like, just to enjoy the precious little moments, you know? And
I think sometimes we miss that when we do this work and we do help each other, and we feel like there's such a big mission ahead of us or big path that we lose the little joys or we lose the moments and like you said, laughing about the freaking broken, that's a good moment.
Yeah.
That you guys will always remember when mum, you know, and you can laugh about that shit.
Yeah.
And I think those, when you can bring that heaviness into light and laugh about it, not take it so seriously, it makes it okay.
Yeah.
You know, all of this is okay.
Everything's okay.
Yeah. And I just really honor you, like, for your path and what you've navigated and, you know, through all your childhood stuff and everything that got taken out of your control to, like you said, be able to take self-responsibility for it, because we all need to do it.
Yep.
And, you know, when I get to see you and reflect on mine and mine on yours, it's like, fuck, this is what we're all doing.
Yeah.
You know, we're no different. Doesn't matter if you're a fucking coach or this or that, or we all still have the same inside kind of feelings and experiences. They just look different, and we're here to portray it differently through our own uniqueness. It's kind of really amazing.
Yeah.
We're not meant to be the same.
No, we're not. We're all from Source Fractal, but here to experience different experiences.
I love
100%.
Little bits of stardust everywhere.
Sprinkle it.
I loved having you on. I'm sure we could talk forever. But, you know, anyone that wants to, you know, jump in with you in women's work and what you're really doing and bringing that sort of femininity and that consciousness into work and business, and, you know, I'll put all your details below. But I love this conversation and the vulnerability that it takes to kind of share how you got here, because I think that really is how we're going to grow when we can see that.
100%.
Because it's great to see you all doing the great things, but how did you get here? Because I think that where we relate to the person that's here, if we haven't seen what you've gone, or at least you can share it so we know. And I think we get so stuck on this hero's journey thing. It's not one part of the hero journey. So to me, it's like all of that stuff happened, but it doesn't define me now. But I don't really feel like I need to talk about it unless it's part of the conversation that makes sense to me. I know a lot of people talk about their hero and what they've overcome to get. There's not one thing I've overcome. I feel like I'm overcoming shit all the time.
And it's like, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to hear?
Where are we going?
Yeah, where are we going? I've got a story for that. Like, I've got a story for that.
Yeah, you know, I've got a story for that. I've experienced that, you know, and I think that's really cool, not to be attached to it, but to have all these experiences and to be able to bring that into whatever learning is available. And that's why I love not having a scripted conversation, and you're like, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. Well, let's just see what happens. You know, with this, and this, and I know there's similarities, and the energy will let us go wherever we're meant to go. And I think that's the biggest teaching, because whoever's listening, it's going to, even if it's one person that listens to this and go, oh my God, that's what I experienced, or that's what I've been through. Or, we need to see each other in each other.
100%.
And when we can do that, we go, oh, someone else has done it, I'm not alone.
Yeah. Because when you're in that state, sometimes when you're hurting so bad, you feel that you can never overcome it. But when you're seeing someone else that was in that state overcome it, they borrow that hope. They borrow your resilience to get them through that. And just imagine how powerful we're all going to be when we just heal, you know, just heal and come back into love, and that ripple effect that it's going to have.
Got like goosebumps. And oh, my heart went all right weird. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to end the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Loved
for
having
me
you on here, and I'm sure we'll do it again.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Love that.